Destruction King Rookie is adapting smoothly. And so in this chat now too, huh?
Thanks to my persona being a kind of funny, approachable, and positive character, it made adjusting easier. And this characterization just kept getting reinforced. At this rate, it wouldn't even be strange to read about myself on the wiki. Me, being a named character of the Disaster Management Bureau. Honestly, it didn't feel bad. And maybe because what I went through before was like an exorcism, for 3 weeks there were no unexpected incidents in the ghost stories. All that was left was to follow the already established rescue manuals and bring people out. If you could just put up with the terrifying stuff, it's doable, to the extent they can embed a number into the ghost story. Now I can understand why there are so many solo missions. At this rate, I can handle it. Besides, since I'm still a rookie, I was always in a pair. Less scary, a lot safer. So, at one point I tried bringing this up to Agent Bronze, but he looked at me seriously.
Your standards are a bit warped. Once you've spent just half a year in Daydream Inc. like me, you'll be the same, Agent Nim.
I could almost cry. Since I ended up in Black Tortoise Team 1, Agent Bronze had been looking after me a bit excessively, while also subtly avoiding small talk. He must have an awkward sense of indebtedness. I get it. Anyway, for the past 3 weeks, it was something I could endure even while tense. I naturally blended into Black Tortoise Team 1. And now I didn't even have to introduce myself as part of the team whenever I met people at headquarters. I'd blended in so well that everyone already knew. I couldn't deny the sense of security that came from belonging. The problem was, it was about time for me to get my first solo mission. Alone, it'll be scary. Having to experience a ghost story alone every 3 days. That's the real problem. But before that, I got this suggestion.
Grapeseed, do you want to take a little break?
It was when I was getting ready to leave in the waiting room, having finished transferring duties to the site cleanup unit.
You haven't really taken a break these past 3 weeks, and you kept helping out. Someone who was hospitalized just a month ago shouldn't be overdoing it. You need to rest now, to clear your head and recover your strength.
Agent Choi made the suggestion. To be honest, I kind of planned for this. It's hard for a rookie to just use up their annual leave all at once. So I purposely overworked and maxed out my hours, hoping a senior would eventually urge me to take a few days off. Agent Bronze caught my eye and quickly nodded in agreement.
Yeah, make sure to use your 2 days off together, and don't forget to tack them onto your regular days off.
That way, I managed to take 4 consecutive days of leave. If you add the 2 regular days off per week, that makes 6 days total. Of course, I definitely needed this time off for a reason.
Sir Kim Soleum, your psychological stability test results are in. Please book a counseling session and pick them up when you are free.
Last week, Director Ho texted me. Soon, I'd be able to enter Cheerful Theme Park, and I need to handle the schedules I'd put off because of work.
Aren't you going to trade, sir? It's info you'll definitely want to hear.
Baek Deok-soo seemed to be ready. I met him at a secluded room cafe in Seoul. Baek Deok-soo pressed as soon as we met, had veins standing out on his temple.
Hey, this is a trade, you know. If you talk like that, it doesn't exactly feel good.
You like efficiency, don't you? Isn't it better to talk fast and get your item? Try thinking things through for once.
Baek Deok-soo's face twisted in anger for a moment, but he quickly hid it and smiled.
Then fine. Let's just get on with it.
Oh, he must be feeling pretty confident. I focused, ready to listen closely. Baek Deok-soo began in a very meaningful tone, about to reveal something special.
2 people from our batch have disappeared. Remember, Go Young-gyun and...
I know, already, so skip that part.
Wait a second. But even you don't know where they went, right, Supervisor?
I looked at Baek Deok-soo with dead fish eyes, and he broke into a cold sweat as he hurried to continue.
They got reassigned to a branch office. You know about the branch offices, right? Out in the countryside. These days, there are a lot of people being assigned to headquarters from the branches. But honestly, the place feels pretty suspicious. I mean, they've cut off all contact.
I told you, that's not it. I'm pretty sure Baek Deok-soo was swearing at me internally right now. But I should give him a bit of hope if I want more info to come out. So I changed tack.
Tell me something else. There's no point going on about stuff I already know. You'll just tire yourself out.
Baek Deok-soo gave me a look that basically screamed, "How do you even know this?" but eventually coughed up the next bit of information.
I saw people from the research team and the security team fighting not long ago.
Did a researcher get his head bashed in or something? Maybe my face looked disgusted, because Baek Deok-soo hurriedly explained.
No, listen, you know that researcher too. Section Chief Kwak Jae-kang from Research Team 1.
I almost lost my composure right then. I barely managed to just widen my eyes, but it was already too late.
Looks like you're really interested. I want to tell you quickly too, but, well, let me see the item first, just in case. If you hear everything and then say you don't have it, that would be a problem. I'm not saying you'd do that, Supervisor. It's just mutual trust, you know? Speed is important, but so is trust when you're making a deal.
Like a magic trick, I pulled out the Necronomicon from my wrist. Seeing the intimidating book-shaped item encased in a creepy bookcase, Baek Deok-soo's eyes sparkled with greed. He reached out his hand.
You said you were just going to look.
For a second, Baek Deok-soo gave me a hostile glare, but then started spilling more information.
I heard that security team member picked a fight with the researcher. Apparently, he asked the researcher something, but didn't get a straight answer, so he tried to hit him.
And the rumor goes, a security team member ran into a researcher while on duty and asked him something about the facility. Then the researcher's superior showed up, and he said something to him.
No idea. Doesn't sound like it was anything special, but suddenly the guard attacked.
A scene came to mind. The sergeant talking to Kwak Jae-kang on the phone.
Just to let you know, I may not be able to enter darknesses, but I can still kill people.
Could that security team member be JC?
Probably because of contamination. Those security team guys go absolutely nuts from contamination, you know.
Don't make things up. You're mixing in your own imagination.
I put on my crazy act, too.
If I can tell you're exaggerating, my dopamine dries up.
Baek Deok-soo looked a little scared.
Anyway, that security team member hardly ever comes outside, but now he's volunteering for shifts in the annex and things like that. I hear he used to be pretty famous. A bunch of section chiefs were chatting. I don't know exactly who, but they were all pretty senior.
The sergeant, he was originally a squad leader on an elite team. Looks like it really was JC. He's actually trying to look into the Cheerful Research Institute for me. Still, I hope he doesn't do anything too dangerous, but it seems he's keeping a safe distance. Running into Kwak Jae-kang is enough to make you sweat, but even if he gets hit, it's not like anything's going to happen to the sergeant. What's scary about Kwak Jae-kang is the crazy explorations he sets up for people. It's nice to have this confirmed. Now I don't have to worry for no reason.
This one's for sure.
After that, I pretended to be interested and listened to a few more useless bits of gossip from Baek Deok-soo. And when I sensed that his patience was just about gone, that the price had reached the right level.
Honestly, the rest of the backstories weren't that interesting. But the one about the fight with the researcher was interesting. Good job. That's quality info.
I smiled and lifted my hand off the Necronomicon. Baek Deok-soo snatched up the bizarre book the moment I finished speaking. His eyes scanned the eerie bookcase in excitement. Then he suddenly looked at me and asked,
This isn't, like, only readable by people like you, Supervisor, or anything, right?
I met his gaze straight on.
But don't expect to use it with the same power as I can.
Because you're not a creepypasta maniac. Baek Deok-soo hesitated, but in the end packed the book away. At last, I was able to relax my tense shoulders. Got some info and got rid of that thing too. That fake Necronomicon. I'd been uneasy about keeping it around, so this worked out well. Not that it's the kind of item that causes problems just by having it, but I think I'd want to just keep using it for work. It's just that powerful. If I kept it every time things got complicated, I'd feel the urge to just read it and resolve things that way. Because then everyone would listen to me. But the longer you use something like that, the more likely you are to get caught. It's practically asking to be found out. And no matter how you look at it, if I overdid it even a little, I'd end up going insane or suffering some permanent mental problem. So, selling it for information to someone who isn't a ghost story maniac is just right. Things worked out well. As he put away the book, Baek Deok-soo's face visibly brightened, and then he looked back at me with a subtle expression.
Supervisor, I'd like to hear more about what counts as good information for you.
It seemed he wanted to squeeze a bit more out of me, since the trade item was so powerful.
If you could be a bit more specific, I'll.
Something interesting. I already told you, didn't I? You wanted even more specific?
Yes, if you would, I'd appreciate.
I rested my chin in my hand.
That story about the researcher was interesting, too. It's easier to picture when it's someone I know. Right. The security guy is fine, too. It's unique.
Then I'll try to focus on rumors about those two, and look into some other things as well.
And so, the deal ended with an unspoken sense of closure. Baek Deok-soo packed up his bag with today's spoils and stood up from the table. Once he left, I also. Baek Deok-soo hesitated before continuing.
You're still at the Disaster Management Bureau, right, Supervisor? You were rescued by the agents in the form of a child back then. So,
I quietly turned to look at Baek Deok-soo.
It's better not to know.
Unless you want to disappear with a branch office assignment, too. If he keeps digging into my past and gets caught by Director Ho, it's over.
There's nowhere in there you can get something like a wish ticket anyway. There's nothing in it for you.
Maybe sensing something was off. Baek Deok-soo glanced around, then nodded. That should be enough. But then, unexpectedly, he added,
yes, well, take care of yourself, Supervisor.
and that was the end of our deal. I only sighed after confirming Baek Deok-soo had left the room cafe. I already knew what kind of person he was as a character, and after living in the same company housing unit, I've figured him out. So in that sense, he's a low-risk guy. He acts just as expected. That's why I'm still trading with him. Though honestly, I barely know anything about him besides his personality. And come to think of it, that goes for almost everyone I've met here, not just Baek Deok-soo. Because I'm going to go home eventually. Maybe only my superiors in the D Squad are the exceptions. After hearing Baek Deok-soo's trivial gossip today, I became keenly aware of that. So now I'm a bit curious too. Why is Baek Deok-soo so desperate to get a wish ticket? There was never any particular mention in as to why someone who gambles everything on survival would risk his life this way. Well, not that it's any of my business. Honestly, I'm more curious about the other batchmates' reasons than his. I'll ask if I get the chance later. For now, I should focus on my own wish ticket and on my own survival. After making sure Baek Deok-soo was really out on the street, I took out my smartphone and sent the reply I'd prepared.
I'd like to make an appointment, sir.
Cheerful Theme Park was a B-rank darkness under Daydream Inc., and its manual had already been written, with the analysis completed by the research team. I don't have to make an effort to remember that I contributed to it, because the tattoo on my wrist, engraved as the admission ticket for that theme park, burned in as it activated, and usually, the fate of a high-ranked darkness that's been fully analyzed goes one of two ways. Assignment to the research team. Elite team responsibility.
Usually, the A Squad assembles 3 regular members, 3 round-off team members, and 6 general members, so 12 people enter at a time. Well, the last entry was 3 months ago, so there's still some time before the next.
Director Ho smiled as he handed over the documents. The manual for Cheerful Theme Park, describing the 12-person entry method using a board game.
Special research entry.
So I went ahead and scheduled it separately.
No problem. It wasn't even difficult.
That might actually be true. After all, the A Squad is part of Director Ho's faction. Since it's a ghost story under his jurisdiction, it must have been easy for him to arrange it. Of course, that's Director Ho's situation, and as a mere Yebbler employee who got special consideration from him, I should just bow my head for now. But Director Ho's explanation didn't end there.
And to make your entry easier, I've already gathered all the other staff who'll be entering with you. Haha.
Why do I have such a bad feeling about this?
Are you worried you'll know someone among the group going in? Worried they'll recognize you, Soleum Nim?
Yes, as you said, I am a bit concerned about that.
Right. That's why, Soleum Nim, unfortunately.
Director Ho pointed at me.
You won't be able to enter in your original appearance.
Yes. That's why I was planning to use the welfare points you distributed to purchase a disguise potion and take it.
That would be so inconvenient for you. And since you're having to live as someone else even outside of work these days, I wanted to minimize that discomfort for you, so I found a way for you to enter that no one will suspect at all.
I looked at him warily. In turn, Director Ho beamed at me.
How about you go in with a special identity, Soleum Nim?
Conference room of Daydream Inc., Research Team 2.
I heard it's B rank today.
They'll give us extra points, right?
One by one, people appeared. Modern office workers in suits, each wearing a strange animal mask. Employees of the Field Exploration Team. They were general team members who had gathered despite the slightly special risk, drawn by the rumor that the point bonus would be better.
Cheerful theme park, right? Yeah, gotta go for that one.
Word had gotten around. Even though this darkness was high-ranked, it had a thorough manual, and a certain staff member's theories during previous expeditions had proven exactly right, so it was considered relatively safe. So when news of a special entry came up, and it turned out to be the cheerful theme park, people quietly spread the word and came together. The fact that it was for research made people nervous, but as long as they weren't the one to die, that was enough. If only there were at least one round-off team guy, I'd feel safer. People kept their eyes narrow and scanned the room, pretending not to. But unfortunately, there wasn't anyone who looked like round-off team staff. However, there was someone who used to be in the round-off team. A tall figure with long, dark brown hair, standing quietly against the wall, wearing a bison mask.
You were assigned to a branch, weren't you? They let you sign up for this from over there? Haven't seen you in a while.
He broke out in a cold sweat as an employee he barely knew came up and started talking to him. A side effect of spy work.
How's the branch? Surviving over there?
Jang Hoon gave an awkward smile and slipped away. The people who spoke to him didn't press further and simply ignored him. They misunderstood, thinking he was just embarrassed. I heard that it's absolute hell in the branch offices. He's basically done with wish tickets now. Anyone who managed to escape from a branch office back to HQ clammed up and refused to describe it, just shaking their head in disgust. And a subtle stigma attached to them. No doubt the entrance exam for HQ was more difficult. Judging by the level of benefits and treatment, maybe at the branch offices even random nobodies could work there. So there was no one here who'd share information, or make friendly small talk with someone thrown out of HQ and dumped into a branch office. If something happens, that guy can die for us. He was from the round-off team anyway. And so, a tacit air of disregard settled around him, except for this person.
Hey, how have you been? Escaping the round-off team was pretty cool. Let's do our best today.
Wearing a dolphin mask, Supervisor Lee Song-hae of the C Squad shook hands with Jang Hae-woon and took a seat beside him. Acting all damn nice, huh? But since she's from the elite team, everyone keeps their mouth shut and looks away in a different sense. And here, there's someone whose position is ambiguous. Hard to call elite, but not really general team staff either.
It's Section Chief Lee, isn't it?
Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun of the D Squad sat on a conference room chair, ramrod straight, wearing a lizard mask. He tanked in the elite team, and now he's doing all sorts of odd things. What a waste of a good face. Still, people avoided making eye contact as if they're afraid. A fist was closer than the law, especially if that fist could smash through iron. Anyway, that was the end of the subtle sizing up.
Once everyone is here, we'll begin the briefing in a moment.
Soon, a researcher entered and started setting up for the darkness entry procedure, and the staff quickly scanned who was sitting at the table.
There's only 11.
Huh? Who's missing?
Some of the more impatient and senior staff glanced over at the researcher. The researcher was sweating bullets. A bad feeling crept down the employees' spines.
Excuse me, but who's the last one?
Supervisor Park, you know you've got to disclose this properly if you want a successful run, right?
Even if the researcher was still junior, the fact that he was so flustered made people even more uneasy. Who the hell is it? Suddenly, there was a knock at the conference room door. Silence fell over the room. Everyone looked toward the door. After just 2 knocks, the black door didn't move at all, as if one had to be granted permission to enter. Black smoke drifted in. The smoke pooled thickly on the floor, then seemed to get sucked back out, repeating over and over. And then, in the midst of it all, a pair of black combat boots stepped across the floor, cutting through the smoke. With every step, the smoke seemed to inhale and exhale, flowing around the figure's feet. and within the black smoke, the silhouette of a large person appeared. Yellow lantern-like lights shone from the figure's waist and eyes. The bizarre sight left everyone frozen. But at least they recognized the affiliation. However, a mask completely hid the man's face, and atop that, countless horns branched out over the head like the limbs of a tree. Dressed head to toe in black special equipment, the figure looked as if armored in custom gear, or perhaps confined by it. Gulp. Someone swallowed hard. Security team. Why here? Security never enters the darkness. That rule usually held. If security staff did enter the darkness, dream essence could not be extracted. They only ever appeared to suppress incidents. Yet sometimes, according to their unique abilities, there were individuals with terrifying, transcendent powers.
To this is the staff member who will be entering with us today.
The employees stared in shock at the strange figure standing silently at the door. The employee from the security team wore a particularly unique outfit full of belts and a mask marked with a special logo on the head. A strange, twisted rectangle shape. The staff recognized it at once, as if struck by lightning. Security team's special unit. Within the security team, there were many units whose true composition wasn't even known. Just names on the intranet organization chart, operating behind the scenes. So all anyone knew were the rumors that circulated after running into them during unfortunate work situations. And the special unit's rumors were the most chilling. There were whispers saying that you'd witness employees so monstrous. It was hard to believe they were ever from the field exploration team who, in the first place, were people whose origins were impossible to guess. And the researcher, now sweating coldly, had heard even more specific rumors. Supervisor Park, if you see someone from the security team's special unit, be polite. They're not human. No. I'm not talking about contamination. They really weren't human to begin with. A department that hires anomalies from the darkness itself, in human form. A rumor as chilling as a ghost story itself. That, thanks to Daydream Inc.'s know-how, the company had signed contracts with the darknesses as if they were employees. For the researcher, it was the first time meeting one of these creatures in person. Despite analyzing darknesses and sending in field exploration team squads, he'd never actually come face-to-face with a monster himself until now. He swallowed hard, staring at the bizarre employee in front of him. Somehow, the conference room seemed a little darker. The yellow lantern-like eyes and the glimmer at the waist of the employee flickered even more strangely in the black smoke. Looking closer, the lantern on the waist was actually a cluster of horns, like ribs. The researcher managed to squeeze out some courage and spoke.
Ah, you can have a seat.
Swallowed by the silence of the conference room, the researcher continued, nearly in tears.
We'll begin the briefing now.
Only then did the strange horned mask walk forward and sat in the seat closest to the door, right next to Jang Haowen. Thank goodness it's not me. Everyone tried their best not to look that way, swallowing hard. Please, don't let me be in the same group. As long as they weren't in the same group, it was fine. Every time you entered the theme park, the names and areas changed, but only the rules stayed the same.
Follow the mascot's rules. If you cannot follow the rules, move to another mascot's area. The 4 group members who drew the same color piece must always stick together.
In other words, if you weren't in the same group as that monster, you wouldn't even have to encounter them to clear the run. If you were lucky with your area, you could just ride 3 attractions and walk away with a high-grade dream essence and a bunch of points. The problem was, this was a special entry, a research entry with additional objectives. And no matter how you looked at it, this time the variable was that employee. The staff stared at the researcher giving the briefing. Hopefully, they wouldn't be told to find and follow that employee around, right?
And for this entry, there are no special instructions. It's just that, whatever the security team employee does inside, you are not to interfere. Everyone understands, right?
The field exploration team members assembled in the conference room nodded desperately. And the very source of this fear, the security team's special employee, was, wow, this disguise is really doing its job. Letting out a sigh of relief. That's right. It's Kim Soleum. I held back a sigh as I looked around the conference room. Well, even if I did sigh, my mask would block it, and only black smoke would come out. I didn't expect Director Ho to go this far. This was a prototype piece of equipment, but I'm glad we get to try it. He had just slipped me actual security team gear, a so-called reverse side suit. Over the suit, a monster that looks like you appears. That's what was written in the developer's notes included with the suit, which resembled combat gear from a game. As for why the security team was developing a suit that lets a person pretend to be a monster, I desperately avoided asking and chose to ignore it. Probably for some project. Anyway, I didn't know the exact mechanics, but I'd heard about the features. Supposedly, it manifests differently for each person. And in my case, it meant lugging around a pile of horns on my head. My look was like a monstrous being bursting out, yet forcibly crammed into a human suit. I made sure not to scratch my head by accident. It feels strangely reminiscent of my original mask. Remembering the wooden antler mask that had earned me the nickname Roe Deer, I felt oddly nostalgic.
I'll explain how to enter Cheerful Theme Park.
Meanwhile, the briefing was nearing its end. I need to go to the theme park section with the blue dragon mascot. The only problem was whether that place would be chosen for the board this time. But I was strangely confident. It was a kind of inductive certainty, gained from my experience with ghost stories up to now. It'll probably call me. Like a certain TV-headed talk show host who once swore he'd show up whenever I just provided the right medium.
Please draw a piece.
The researcher politely held out the board game piece capsule with both hands. For some reason, it was my turn first.